What's good, everybody? Talking Shit Podcast right here. We're about to talk our shit on the topic, is it ethical to mock the adverse outcomes of anti-vaxxers? So we're going to get right into this article that has been kind of blowing up the political internet that came out from this particular columnist named Michael Hiltzik, entitled "Mocking Anti-Vaxxers, COVID Deaths is Ghoulish." Yes, we're going back to Halloween. Yes, but maybe necessary, right? So you look through the article and the guy is basically saying, hey, this woman, prominent politician, she's been railing against vaccines since, I guess she was a little kid. Maybe she didn't like needles or whatever.
Yeah.
And, she, said nobody should get the shot and trying to get people to not take the shot. And then she didn't take the shot. And then the Rona took its shot and then it shot her into the ground. So, his premise is that, well, if you use her as a grim example, then maybe you could up the vaccination rates and save other people's lives. So a lot of people didn't like that. There were some people that did, but then there were other people that didn't. Of course, the same people on the right wing who have been telling people not to get vaccinated, they are upset about this. But I got to ask you, what do you think? Is it ethical to mock the adverse outcome of anti-vaxxers, or just people who don't follow safety conventions at all?
No, it's definitely not ethical, right? Because I think that we can all have different opinions, right? Vaccination, unfortunately, is an extremely toxic topic to talk about these days, but I don't think it's ethical in any way.
If we were able to get monetized for this video, it would be demonetized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's one of those topics that's very hot button, right? And I just think that if you're gonna go along the line of thought, like, oh, we'll just mock them and make fun of them for dying, you kind of lose the moral high ground there, right? And I just think it comes down to a demonization of the other side, right? Because this just kind of stems to a lot of the tribalism that we find right now in the Republicans and the Democrat parties, right? Where if you're not along my line of thought, I'm a fucking, demonize you. So it's easier, like when you die, it's not an actual human being anymore. You're just an idea.
Right?
You know what I mean? You're no longer a human being to the other side. You're just this idea, and they're going to make like every single negative thing about the other side, that's you now, if you're on that party.
Right.
And that's the sad part about this. I don't think we need to get to a part in society where we're essentially mocking people's open deaths and like,
it's a little late for that, buddy.
Oh, I know it's a little late to death. Like, ha 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 ha, he's dead, or ha ha, she's dead. Like it's a way. It's childish, right? Now, mind you, there's certain people you mock when they die, like school people that shoot up schools, or fucking people that blow up buildings, shoot up places and stuff like that. Mockery there to me at least makes some semblance of sense, but like for somebody that necessarily doesn't agree with the vaccinations and them just like living their everyday life and then them passing away, we're getting into very dangerous territory if that's the line of thinking we're going to go down.
Right. I definitely agree with the methodology that you employ here. I will say though that I kind of got caught up because I got into so many arguments with people on the subject. And, I'm a pretty apolitical person. I take every subject. I try to get as much information as I can and then try to make a sensible assessment. So I don't subscribe to the left. I don't subscribe to the right. I just look at things and say, well, this makes sense and this doesn't. And for me, when it's showing that the overwhelming majority of people who take the shot don't suffer adverse effects, at that point, it's like, well, even if the shots don't work, at least they don't hurt you. I'm going to err on the side of caution that way. And when I see people that fight so hard to say, well, it's my body, my choice, when you're talking about a communicable disease, right? It was very frustrating for me and so I started to lose my humanity, and I admit that.
Yeah.
But then, you mentioned the school shooters, and I realized that I won't even mock the school shooter, because just like the anti-vaxxer, the lessons that life taught them are different. And we need to meet people where they are so that we can get an understanding of who they are. And then if we do have accurate information and they don't, we can deliver the message in a way that doesn't make people defensive, that puts people back in that tribal mindset that you spoke about. So, I've definitely I've had to been checked by some people, maybe with not the greatest of intentions when they checked me, but when they checked me, it was necessary, and I had to kind of shake myself back into ethical reality, and understand that a life lost is a life lost, regardless of what they did with their life. There's no chance for redemption when you're gone. So,
I definitely, I definitely agree with that. I think that life is very sacred, right? You only live it once. You only have a chance on this earth once. So I just, when unfortunately, like, that's someone's mom, dad, brother, sister, friend,
Yep.
And that's where at least I try to rationalize it now. When I was younger, I'd probably be a little bit more of a savage, but as you get older, it's like you kind of realize, like, man, like, especially when you've lost people in life, it's like, man, life is really sacred. Life is like, it's fleeting, right? Life is fleeting. And you got to really kind of cherish what you have is here. And that's why I'm just never going to openly mock somebody, unless they're like done some horrifically evil shit. That's even the only place that even makes some semblance of sense to me.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think it kind of comes down to that. I'll say this for people on the left, and I'm just going to speak to them right now, is that, like, you guys speak about mental health, and like you guys want to take care of the mental side. By doing that type of behavior, you're not thinking with the best mental health, right? You're not caring for that other human being, that family's mental health. You're just scared about being vindictive, right? And, I'm going to say this with the right side too. Right side has a lot of things where they're big hypocrites. So for me, it's just like, let's stop getting trapped, right, in this red, blue mindset. Like, let's just
Bloods and Crips.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly kind of what they are, honestly. Take a step back and just realize, like, oh shit, like, that's a human being, regardless of what they think of the vaccinations. And we can have a completely different show to kind of flesh out the statistics in a different time. But let's just keep it to the ethical part of it. Is like, hey, like, that's a human being, man. Like, it's like, listen, I don't agree with their choices, right? I don't agree how, maybe what they decide to do, but that's a human being. That's someone's, like, actual family member that, hey, like, it's not just some statistic at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And for me, when you're talking about the statistic, one of the things that I find to be kind of irritating is the fact that people only focus on the death count. Look at all of the people who, A, are survivors of people who died. Yeah. And then B, you look at all of the people who are dealing with long Rona, and then you have their family members that now have a disabled relative that they need to take care of. It just derails people's entire lives and how they perceive the world. And it's some viral particle that you can't even see, but with the strongest of electron microscopes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we're going to leave it to you guys in the comments section. You let us know, where do you stand on it? Do you feel like, we should hold, funerals filled with pageantry for those we lost, depending, regardless of their Rona virus vaccine status? Do you think that the people who author their own problems, that they don't deserve empathy or sympathy? I I guess you can kind of let us know what you think in the comments below.
Peace.